Welcome to the show. Geek Insider presents Into the Geekverse, the place to get an inside look at movies, comics, games, tech, and everything exciting going on in the Geekverse. Join Matthew Harris and David King as they take a deeper look at the good, the bad, and the downright terrible things our Geekverse has to offer. With live chat, geek news, special guests, and lots more. So sit back, relax, and join us for a peek into the Geekverse.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back into the Geekverse. It is your one-stop shop for everything geek. I'm David King. My co-host is...
Matthew Harris. Today, maybe tomorrow.
This week, we're going to be talking about the gaming influencers and how to become one. Joining us today is the CEO of MoreYellow, Jordan Mauriello. Good evening, Jordan. How are you today?
Hey, guys. Doing good. Having a nice Sunday.
Now, I got to ask first and foremost, Jordan, is it MoreYellow, and that's where MoreYellow came from?
Yeah, I grew up and had my name mispronounced pretty much in every homeroom class all through school. So I think when we started, I thought, we could go with my last name, but it'd probably be better to do it so that people could pronounce it. So, yeah, just MoreYellow is a play off of my last name, MoreYellow.
That's smart. I didn't think about that. My apologies if I said it wrong.
No, that's all right.
Well, Jordan, first and foremost, we've kind of promoted the show, and so we've told the ones that are expecting this what this is all about. But tell us, what is MoreYellow? What do you guys do, and how's things going so far?
Yeah, you got it. So MoreYellow, we're a content agency. We focus in the video game market. We do creative campaigns, and we work with influencer talent to do those creative campaigns. So as of this past month, we have 280 talent creators that we manage. For the most part, are on YouTube and Twitch for that do gaming programs and gaming streaming. And we have almost 400 million views of inventory per month from those particular creators. And so they create a lot of content. And so what we do is we build overall strategies and programs to promote new games and game hardware that are coming out. But then we utilize our creator network to help get all of that messaging out through their channels and all the inventory that we have across the board. So we're kind of like a hybrid agency, a talent agency, but also like a creative agency as well. And that's sort of like our niche within the gaming community.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and for just the average gamer that's tuning in right now, what is a gaming influencer?
There's it keeps progressing. It's progressing quite a bit. Influencers in general are the people that are amassing followings on the different platforms that are out there, right? So TikTok, Instagram, these are the popular ones. Twitch is kind of a really unique platform for gaming. It's kind of stretching outside of gaming, but a lot of it's game streaming. People go on and they actually stream the games. They play the games and they stream the games through Twitch. And so, and then they do it now also on YouTube gaming. So when this started, when you actually started being able to stream on these platforms, you would think, why would people actually want to watch these guys and girls
Exactly.
Yeah. And it was kind of a cultural phenomenon because you all of a sudden you saw the games being played at like the highest potential. Like people that could play these games like the way they were built to be played at their highest level. And so essentially when that started happening, you had all of these people very much just like the other platforms. They started following these individual players on the gaming platforms. And So it started off where people would actually, a gaming influencer was someone that just really played really well, and people would tune in to watch them play the game. And people would grow their followings, and that would give them the influence over all of the, over the different fans. And then people would do integrations and sponsorships on their channels. But in doing that, you kind of like started to diversify. So nowadays you have a lot of gaming talent creators that they're playing just gameplay and they're just streaming. But then now also you have people that are like, they're kind of doing skits. They're doing on-camera work where they're not just playing. They're doing lifestyle programs, and that's the typical progression. Is people usually, kind of progress. We're not just going to be a gameplay influencer. We're going to move into these other avenues. But to answer your question, it's like the traditional gaming influencer really started as, people that played games really well on Twitch and YouTube gaming, and created this content and then built a following for people to tune in when they played so they could watch them play.
Very cool. Very good. That's probably the best answer I could have hoped for what a gaming influencer is. But David, you got something for him?
Yeah, now that our fans kind of know more about what a gaming influencer is, could you tell us a little bit about like how does becoming a gaming influencer for MoreYellow work?
There you go.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little breakdown on it. So we're a management agency, and we started in management really because when we started working with influencer talent, what we were noticing is that the majority of the talent that we worked with, that we were going to, and we had an idea, hey, we have this program, we would pitch the program to our clients, and they'd be like, all right, cool, that sounds like a great idea, let's do that. Then we would end up going and pitching that same idea to like 10 or 20 different influencers to try and get them to like want to be part of the program. Which can be laborious, and there's a lot of shops that do just that. And so we kind of got to the point where we're like, how do we not do this anymore? How do we stop, keep working through the managers on every single program? And they would always hinder our communication back and forth with the talent. We couldn't like go to them and say like, hey, what do you think of this idea? This is what we want to do. This is how we want to actually do this program. Do you have any thoughts, or how do you make it bigger? Like, we couldn't have any of those conversations. And these were the talent that were actually going to be producing it. And so we came to the conclusion, it was about 3 years ago, we're like, let's stop going 100% off roster for every program. Let's build our own roster. And so we're like, that's probably the quickest and best way for us to be able to have better access to the talent and have these conversations and kind of figure out what would be best for each program that we work on. And so we started talking with the talent and letting them know about our relationships with the brands and what we were trying to do with building an internal roster. And we started signing talent, and that's why we have close to 300 creators today. But to get onto the roster, I guess to your point, it takes a little bit. The first and foremost, like the basic things is you got to have viewership. Our roster, we really focus on the mid to top tier gamers. So they get a lot of views, but we're not looking for the people that are just like looking for like 10 million views of video. We're not really that group. We're the group where you get about 300,000 to 500,000 views per video. So the viewership, this way you could bundle, you can have multiple influencers on our program. And that's kind of the way we like to do it. It helps diversify the sort of spend
That's cool.
with our clients. So viewership's first and foremost. You got to be brand friendly,
Right.
which that's kind of important to us because those are the types of brands that we've always worked with. We've worked a long time with Disney and Warner Brothers, and the groups that are looking for a little bit more, brand friendly types. It used to be a requirement for us, and we've kind of tweaked it a little bit because we have so many different types of programs now. But we used to like to make sure that the talent would be on camera occasionally, so they could come on and they could help pitch the actual products in person and do breakdowns and walkthroughs of it. It seemed like that was a little bit more of what the brands were asking of us at the time. But I think like the biggest things, like those are all like I think very obvious when it comes to sponsorships. I think also for us, like you have to take a look at their community and their engagement rates. I think that's like one of the biggest things, because no brand really wants to work with talent that, even if you get amazing views, they don't really want to work with them if like it's just like views for the sake of views. They want a community that's active and interested in their channel. So you hear people, you look at the comment section, you look at the community section, and you see how active everybody is. That to us is like probably one of the most important things, because it's really people that are listening and are interested in them and are interested in their community that are gonna, really react the most to any messages that are put out, and that's what the brands look for the most too. So
yeah,
I'd say those are just a few of them, a few of the main ones. I can go for a while on that one.
Well, the ones that are more have the more engagement, they're also going to have the audience that's going to be more engaging as far as going to visit the sponsor site or the advertiser's website. Maybe getting into those products or hopefully converting. That's what everybody wants, is that advertising that actually converts. Off the wall here, because I jotted this down as soon as I saw you sit down, and we just had somebody ask Jordan has a cool background painting. I'm a huge art fan. I love Jackson Pollock. That is very Pollock reminiscent. I see the astronaut though. I know it's not necessarily. Who is it?
I always forget the brother. They're two brothers. They're actually a pair. They paint together, and I always forget their names. And I'm not going to do it because I'll butcher it if I say it the wrong way. But they're two brothers. They paint together, and they did this painting together. And one of them's a little bit more landscape, and the other one does outer space style paintings. And then they came together and they did a painting together. And so I always liked it. It's like, the astronaut.
That's cool.
The roses, but I would have to. I can never pronounce their last name correctly.
Well, I butcher some of the most basic names with this Texan accent, so no worries there.
Hey, we already experienced that this morning with me.
You guys have the same exact painting in your backgrounds.
Oh, notice that. So there's actually a really funny story about that. So me and Matthew, he's known me my entire life and everything, and our families have known each other. But anyways, for last Christmas, people were getting us like house decorations. And so, I like to share my life with them. And I was like, this is really cool. Check out what I got for Christmas this year. And I sent him a picture. And he goes, no way. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. And I really liked the canvas painting of it. And he's like, no, ma'am. And he goes, and he takes a picture and he goes, I got the exact same one for Christmas. And it was not coordinated. His family got it for him because he knew he liked Batman. And my family got it for me because they knew that I liked Batman. And that's not the only one. They got us a second one on Christmas, the same one, same year. Two of the exact same ones.
Yeah, I mean, they know that just shows our families know us and that him and I are on the same wavelength as far as likes. Because the other one was an Avengers that, I mean, you know how many tons of Batman and Avengers posters there are? And they got us the two exact same ones. It was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I've got a lot of artwork. David has a lot of artwork and statues and stuff. I mean, we are certifiable geeks, and he's more of a gamer than I am. I am kind of an old school gamer right now. I just bought a PS2 again a couple of months ago just so I could play. Yeah, I love Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original one on PS2. There's no game like it, and so I bought it specifically to play that game. I played Joust, Galaga, and stuff like that. But Jordan, before we move forward into more of the influencer stuff, are you a gamer? And if so, what is your favorite game right now?
I play. I like to play. I feel like I watch more than I play nowadays. But I just recently finished up Final Fantasy, The Last Soldier. It came out as the first mobile game from Square Enix on the Final Fantasy franchise, which is it's a great game.
Mobile's been getting big on gaming from what I've seen online.
Yeah, it's a battle royale, which I'm a big battle royale fan. I do like Fortnite. I liked PUBG before Fortnite came out, and so it's actually really cool because if you're a Final Fantasy fan, all the different worlds that you've kind of seen in the RPGs, all the famous Final Fantasy programs or games, they are in the actual maps. But just in a battle royale sort of format.
Oh, that's cool.
A lot of fun. Played some Apex Legends, which is kind of like a popular mobile game. On the console side, I go a little bit more towards like the action sports style games. I like Skate 3 a lot. I grew up skateboarding here, Southern California. I'm a big proponent of skating, so Skate 3 is a fun one. Ubisoft has a couple action sports games that I really like. Trials Rising, it's dirt biking and BMX riding, which is pretty cool. And some of these games we've done programs on. That's, I think, one of the coolest parts is like I get to play the game, and then like at some point we try and pitch the publisher if we can actually work on the game. And some of them we actually get to work on, which is like a dream come true.
Right.
But I'm not I'm not like a core gamer. I do like some of the core games. I like watching them. League of Legends, I'm like overly impressed with watching the championships, the world championships that they have every year.
Gotcha.
Which is a pretty incredible thing. Like they have more people watching that than that watch the actual Super Bowl, which is it's an incredible feat for video games.
And you saying that you watch more than you play. Unfortunately, I cannot play first-person shooters. I get motion sickness. Have since Doom. Yeah, since Doom, the original Doom, first-person shooter, I get motion sickness. I'll puke my guts out, but I love them. And so I've been known to play them until I get sick and then calm down. Some people have told me to take Dramamine to play. I'm like, no, I'm not taking drugs to play, but I do like watching those. And that's a big area where these influencers come in is, not only are they just sitting there playing a game, they're telling you about the game. They're showing you cool little things to do. And like you said earlier, interacting with their audience and getting their audience to engage. David, I'll throw it over to you in just a second, but I wanted to throw up this question because they said, what is a cool campaign that MoreYellow has worked on? But let me say, what is the coolest one? And well, I don't want you to out anybody or to make anybody feel lesser, but what is one of your favorite campaigns most recently?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. We just did a program for NVIDIA that I'm pretty happy with. And I think I'll tell you a little bit about that. It was actually for Apex Legends. A fun program where essentially you got to go and you got to play Apex, and we had a bunch of different influencers that had you go and play as well. And upon playing, what they wanted you to do is use this new platform that NVIDIA has. They put out this platform called GeForce Now.
Yep.
And that essentially allows you to stream the gameplay without a console. So that's the whole purpose of GeForce Now, is like you don't even need a console in your house anymore. You can actually play directly from the cloud and stream the gameplay straight to your monitor. It's really next level and a very new school way of gaming. There's a couple different people that are getting into it. Microsoft has a version, Stadia has a version, but GeForce Now is NVIDIA's, and they have a really great program that allows you to play, and there's no latency, there's no buffering, it's very clean.
Very cool.
And so what happened in the program is we asked people, the beauty of GeForce Now is they allow you to take clips of your gameplay. You take different clips of your gameplay, and you could then take that and put it on your social, which is kind of a really cool little feature. It's like, hey, this just happened. I just did this awesome kill or this awesome move or this awesome map.
Right.
And you export it. And so what we did is we allowed the platform GeForce Now. We built a mini site that allowed people to export clips, their best kills from Apex Legends, over to this microsite that we built. And then on the microsite, people would vote the best different clips that they liked, that people had uploaded to it. And at the bottom of that site, we had an overall tweet meter. So that meter, anytime somebody uploaded to it, if they shared that clip, it added a point to an overall meter. And as that meter moved up, you got more and more prizes were released to the different audience members. And so I think we ended up with like 20,000 tweets, everybody tweeting out, and we gave away like $10,000 in prizes for it.
Wow.
And it promoted Apex Legends, but really also it promoted GeForce Now, which is the service that allows you to do that by NVIDIA. We did, I'll keep going. There's one other I was thinking about while we were talking about that one is we did a program the game is called Steep, which is a Ubisoft program. You ride BMX bikes, mountain bikes, you fly in a wingsuit, you do all these different kind of really cool action sports, and you can do them all around the world. And so this was coming out during the pandemic. And we came up with this idea is like, why don't we have all of these different people from all over the world, influencers, do some of the things from the actual game. So we had we had mountain biking, we had BMX riding, and we did a virtual relay race where they handed off from one activity to another, all on a timed track, and then we had like an overall winner. And we ended up they all pushed it out on all of their channels. It was this virtual relay race that happened around the world, all simultaneously. We ended up with like 5 million views at the end of it to promote the game. It was like a really good program. And we did it all virtually. Everybody handed off from one person to the next. They would go and they'd touch their camera and you'd pull out. And it was a person in a totally separate part of the world starting their leg of the race. And we did that for a game called Steep. That might have been one of the most like creatively challenging programs because we couldn't be in person and we couldn't like actually have people meeting up, but we were able to pull off that whole program and a relay race of 4 versus 4 to promote that game. And it ended very successful. That was a pretty cool program.
Wow,
sounds like
that's why
really
y'all
cool.
are the best.
I gave you 2. I don't know if you wanted 2, but I just figured.
No,
the more the merrier.
Yeah, that's and real quick again, David, I'll throw it over to you. But is there a central area, Jordan, where people can catch all of your influencers, or is it they've got to pretty much be following that specific influencer?
Yeah, we don't. We sell ourselves pretty hard that we're not an MCN, which is a multi-channel network. And usually those multi-channel networks, they usually tie and have one big hub where all the talent is at.
Right.
And we've tried really hard not to do that. We kind of do things a little different. We sell individually, per influencer. So there isn't really one place in general that you could go to and kind of have all of our talent that are all using one particular platform. Not as of right now. Everybody's kind of pretty individual. The way our team's built internally, we have individual talent managers that work with each different segment of different types of gamers. There's a ton of different segments, but no, it's a little separate, and actually it's very, more of a manual process rather than like an automated process on like some big programmatic machine. It's much more manual and high touch, and a lot of communication back and forth with each individual influencer.
No, and I think that's pretty smart. Because like you said, a lot of places are that central hub, and you go in, they got 50 influencers listed, and after the first couple, you just kind of skip over the rest anyway. But David, I'll shut up now. You ask some questions.
No, I've been having a blast. I really enjoy learning. The video you were talking about kind of reminds me of the reel that's on MoreYellow's website. Is some of that taken from it, or is that something different?
I think the reel on our site might be 2 years old. So
I just remember kind of different
places. Yeah, I don't think anything's in there. I gotta say, we really have made our name in the gaming industry of doing very custom, high production programs. That's kind of like how we got started. I think, when we were first, starting our business, the way we got companies to work with is we did the complex and the difficult. We always were, pushing the limits on like these oversized productions and really trying to get people to stretch out and go as far as they could with each program. And so I think our reel, we have a number of those types of programs. That's kind of what we build year in and year out. Those are the types of programs. I think the ones I mentioned are just the ones that are top of mind that we just did. But year in and year out, those are the types of programs we build. So if it sounds like it, I know our reel, it's a pretty cool compilation of videos that we've worked on over the years. I think that's just other programs. The ones I'm talking about are actually, they're pretty new.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. You had mentioned about the GeForce Now. I'm a big GeForce user.
Nice.
I've got that RTX 3090.
Sick.
And yeah, I actually, because it's so bulky, I went and got the hybrid, and so I had to take it all apart, which was nerve-wracking because I got this at the height when it was like $3,000 before GPU prices crashed. So I had to take this thing apart all the way down to the circuitry and be able to hook up a hybrid unit to liquid cool it, which works so much better now. But going back to my original question, was the GeForce Now, I feel like I remember that being like debuted with either the RTX 20 series or the 30 series. Do you remember when that was kind of debuted? Because they had it when they were announcing the series of cards. I remember when I was watching them release all that stuff.
I think it might have been the 2080. Excuse me. I think it might have been when they brought out the 2080, and that was like the whole thing was like, because it's streaming, right? It's not using your GPU that's
right
in your car, that's in your machine. But I think the whole point was, and this was a couple years back, is that though the processing power in the cloud was super strong because they were all ran on 2080s. So the 2080 Ti, I believe that would be it. You'd have to fact check me on that one. But we've been working on GeForce Now since it started. And so I think it was the 2080 Ti that there was a whole farm of 2080 Ti's that processed it. And because of that, then you had like this super, super strong stream of content and gameplay and never had a problem with it. But I don't know, David, I think it might have been the 2080. But I have to fact check.
I think possibly because I ended up getting the 2080 Ti, I think. And so I think that's why I happened to remember it. But that just jumped into another question that popped in my mind. If I'm understanding correctly, when you're working, you said you worked with Steve like from the very beginning, GeForce Now and stuff. Is there any do they make you sign any agreements like, hey, you can't put this out until a certain date because we're all working at this from the start? Or was it kind of like you have free reign to do this and post it? Because I know a lot of places like Disney or anybody, I hear that they have those contracts where you have to keep it under wraps until a certain date. Did y'all run into anything like that?
Yeah. That's pretty much like you run into that in almost every program in video games. They call it an embargo date. And so when the embargo drops, that's what you always hear. It's like, oh, when's the embargo dropping? That all it means is like there's a date we're not allowed to talk about. And then as soon as that date drops, that's when everything comes out. So every program that we work on, there's a lot of contracts before we ever even learn about what the actual product or game is that we're going to be promoting. Right. And then once those contracts are signed, essentially what you're doing is you're agreeing to not talking about anything, not promoting anything. And then everybody at the company is under those contracts as well. So everybody under MoreYellow signs an overall NDA to be part of MoreYellow at the beginning, and that keeps us safe when we sign the contracts with the client. And you always hear it. You always hear it. Like sometimes the clients are a little bit more hey, for sure you cannot talk about this, and you get some pretty good news as to things that are going to be coming up, and you're like, wow, you kind of feel pretty special to be let in on some of that info that's going to be happening.
Yeah, because I get that. I get embargo dates all the time on movie reviews, television shows, books. I don't take too much on books because I just don't have time to read them, but I get a lot of the movie reviews and stuff with Geek Insider. And so I'm used to those embargo dates, but I can't imagine, because I don't have to sign NDAs or nothing. They just send me the press release or whatever, and they go, Matthew, don't release this until August 29th at 9 a.m. And I'll go in and I schedule it up, and so it doesn't go out till 9:01 a.m. on whatever date they gave me. But I can only imagine that with you guys, because like you said, y'all got y'all's grubby little mitts on some really hot news. So it's stuff that people would really chomp at the bit to know. But David, I'll throw it back to you. I got some other questions, but it kind of is going to change gears on what we've been talking about. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I had the same idea. I mean, going a little bit back into gaming influencers, I kind of wanted to ask, it's a little bit different, but like, do you know what would be the most common thing that gaming influencers do that hinder them from doing well? People have bad habits and stuff. Like, is there any gaming influencers that just have these hard habits to break that just they hinder them from doing so good?
Yeah, like drinking on the job, or like we talked about a while ago, swearing too much, because you said that they gotta be within that brand scope. So I could see somebody that swears too much during a game. They might not be I can't think of the word I was trying to think of, but they might not be certain brands may not want them.
Yeah. The thing I probably see the most, an influencer can be really great at making interesting content, and usually the more interesting and more creative the production, the longer it takes. That's typical of most things, right? And so, but the problem, the way that all the platforms really work is they work on they reward those that are consistently making content. And I think probably one of the biggest things that you see that holds people back, even the great creators, is their lack of consistency in putting things out. And I think one of the big things that, if you're an influencer and you're trying to get into the space, or let's say you're trying to be an influencer and try to build your following, like, you have to be consistent. Like, the algorithms won't serve your videos until you're putting out on a regular, consistent basis. And that's really what they want to see. If you think about it, the algorithms don't know that it's the most creative video. They just know, like, oh, this is just being put out on a regular basis. And they reward those channels because really the platforms live and breathe off of new content, right? And that's right. And you can see it also, like, when a new game drops, it gets searched a lot, right? If you go on YouTube or Twitch, it's like everybody's searching that same game. If you develop content around the new dropped content or the dropped game, you'll get picked up in the searches a lot more. And if you put out content regularly around what's new, then essentially you get picked up. It's just the same as you would like in any other entertainment source. You see it on TVs. Everybody's covering the same latest story, right? Everybody's covering the same latest news because that's where people's interest is at, right? And it's the same thing with influencers on, these platforms. It's like, are they putting out content that's being searched a lot? And are they putting it out on a regular basis? And when influencers, even if they're super creative, if they're not doing that, it's really hard to get the ball rolling. It's really hard for them to, get the speed and the traction, and the platforms have their back. Like, that's the thing. Like, the algorithms don't pick them up, and it's really hard to build your channel if you're just inconsistent.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, that kind of makes me think. I guess a lot of people, I would say, think that it's easy. They could just come home, they could film the stuff, they can push it out there. But I guess like you were saying, no matter how creative you are with it, if you don't have some of these key points, like making sure it's relevant news and at a consistent pace, then you just got to keep that in mind when doing it. Which I think way back, like I think it was 4 years ago when I got a camera and a mic, and I was like, I'm gonna come home from work and game, and I set up my Twitch. And, I would go in there, and then, I was just like, well, I'm tired, and like, I'll just do this when I can. And then I realized that it wasn't working. And I'm like, when we were doing research for the show, I started realizing like consistency is key. Like if you watch back from our original ones, we hugely developed our intros, the voiceovers and stuff to be able to become more relevant, interesting, and consistent. And I started realizing how much, like when I was young, I didn't account for any of those. So I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like you can tell a progressed channel from a brand new channel just by how much everybody progressed, like all of the different elements that they need, like the intros. I thought your intro was rad. I was watching that. But like all of those things is, like that just comes from a channel that gets more and more progressed, that understands things a little bit more. But,
exactly. We used to have another show on this channel or on Geek Insider, and it was called Geek Speak. I had a co-host there. Her name was Meredith Loughran. We really made a lot of inroads with Hollywood and the streaming services, comic books. Unfortunately, she passed away in February of this year unexpectedly. Well, thank you. She was, my co-host, my producer, the person that kept me in check and would tell me to shut the hell up and let the guests speak. But it was really great. And we had a lot of really cool guests over the years. And that's what we're wanting to get back into now is these interviews. And so we really do appreciate you showing up, or not showing up, but we appreciate your time. But a guest in the audience has asked a really good question that I want to throw up here. And it's basically, who was MoreYellow's first client? And so basically, how did MoreYellow start? And he said he didn't know if this was covered.
That's a nice question. I started on my own a long time ago. And when I first started, it's tough to get anybody to work with you. I worked with some really great ad agencies. That's kind of like how I was taught. We worked on these big car companies. Ford was the biggest account at Young and Rubicam. I worked there for 5 years. And we worked on these, beautiful car releases at the time. It was Cadillac and Volvo, Lincoln Mercury, all these. And then when I started on my own, you go from that to, the landscape company down the street. And, but I mean, I'll be honest, it was great for me. I think one of the first clients, it was a landscape company. And then I worked on, since I knew automotive so well, I got into doing some work in the automotive aftermarket for some of the smaller groups out in the aftermarket. And I gotta be honest, I always took it that, how well you did on that job or that project really dictated the size and the level of the very next project that you get. You're going to have to show that project. And so, getting into it, I didn't have as much opportunity. I was running around, knocking on everybody's doors asking for a chance. And you don't get a ton of chances when you start. but when you do get them, you just got to capitalize off of them. And so, like, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm super proud. If I were to show you some of those landscape brochures, or if I were to show you some of the you know, the intake company websites that we worked on, they were beautiful work. You know, it was beautiful work, and we, you know, really put our hearts into it. And so I'm proud to say, you know, there were smaller clients, but we worked really hard on them to really make them special. So,
and that's how you make your name, man. You got to start somewhere. And that's with anything. You know, I'm a copywriter by day. I used to work for a penny a word. You know, that's just, you got to pay your dues, just like with influencers. And Jordan, I kind of want to pivot here. We've talked about what it takes to become an influencer. And as David said, you know, we do a little research before we have these interviews. And I kind of found something that I think is something that you're passionate about. And that's the lack of female influencers in the industry. You know, they make up a good portion of the gamers out there, but they're not so much. They haven't broken that barrier for the influencers, unfortunately. And so, why do you think that is? And how do female gamers change it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something we've been talking more and more about lately. It's interesting. The gaming space itself has changed so much over the last 10 years. Everybody thinks of gamers still maybe that, like, from a general broad view, that, you know, gamers are these guys sitting in their parents' basements wearing headsets and drinking Monster Energy drinks, and there's a big portion of gamers that are that, and I love that level of gaming. But gaming has changed so much in the last 10 years, where you have really the advancement of mobile, which has really changed the whole landscape of gaming. You know, puzzle games, Farmville, Match 3 style games.
Right.
But then also just even some of the MOBA games out there, MMO games out there, all of which has really increased the size of the audience of women gamers. And so now the most recent studies state that the audience of people that play games is 55% male, 45% women. And so it's practically split half in half. And right. If you look at all the influencers that are out there, only 5% of the top earning influencers are women. Only 5%.
That's amazing.
And nearly half are men. And nearly half of the players are women. And only 5% are the top earners. And you just have this much smaller segment of women that have a voice in the industry. And if you take a look at most industries, a lot of sporting industries that were primarily male based, but then all of a sudden really started to exalt and sort of lift women, elevate women, and give them more of a voice in the space.
UFC,
grown. Yeah, exactly. There, UFC, the WNBA. Yep. It's only grown, but even more so legitimized the actual sport.
Exactly.
It's just kind of like a hobby to it being like a real actual sport, and we just see that, and there's just not enough voice from women on the audience side, and so that's just something we've been kind of really interested in talking about. You know, my team at MoreYellow, 80% of the management of MoreYellow are female, and they play such an active part in the industry behind the scenes, and it just makes more sense that they'd be have a larger voice on camera and talking to people as well.
So the second part of that question is, do you have any tips to this 45% of female gamers on what they can do to step up their game, so to speak? Ladies, I'm not disparaging you here at all, but how do they take that next step from, I play games, I got some followers, maybe I got, several thousand followers. How do I make that step other than, go to MoreYellow.com and seeing if I got what it takes? How do they start taking those steps to becoming an influencer?
Yeah. First thing is just getting started. We don't see enough. We don't see enough young ladies getting into becoming a gaming influencer. Right now is like, it's an integral part. It's a very good part in history to be part of and start joining. What we see is that when we are asked to be part of a program, every time that we build a list, here's all the talent that you should be working with. If we put a fair share, if we put a fair split between men and women on the list, that more times than not, it's always more women picked than men to be used in a program. There's just not enough. And that's like, I think one of the biggest things. You got to get started. And the nice thing about right now is that if you get started now, and the keys are consistency, playing the new games that are coming out, being active on your channels. But if you get started now, you really lay the groundwork for the whole industry as a whole. 5 years, 10 years down the line, you will be legitimized as one of the founders that really got women's voices heard in the gaming industry, because we just don't have enough out there. So I think, I give you a ton of tips as to how you can get started, and how, influencers actually, can make traction and progress with their channel. But first and foremost, there's just not enough getting started or thinking about it. And I think we just need to let people know, like, get involved. Growing a channel can be tough and daunting at times, but if you get involved and you put in the work, brands will work with you. They would love to work with you. And so it's just a matter of just, getting out there and actually getting started.
Now, I have regarding that. So my girlfriend is a huge gamer in the sense of just time consuming. Her favorite game right now is Destiny 2. She plays Call of Duty. Now, she's not the type to get influenced, but it made me think of the question, what about, do you think that it's still possible for female gaming influencers to get within the top % if they have like a certain game that they mainly play, or just say two? Because we talked about how staying relevant is important. Right. But for instance, like Destiny 2, you have a lot, like the new season just came out, new DLCs where you could do walkthroughs, which you had mentioned before. You've got team clan gameplay. Is it possible, do you think, to still stay relevant, but still only have a small selection of games that you display out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you're getting started, it's smarter to have a smaller segment. Have a smaller audience. Be more niche with one particular audience. That's really how you grow your initial base. Let's say, you're playing Fortnite, and you should play a lot of Fortnite. Play a lot of one game and really build your base around, battle royale games. And then later down the line, then you're like, okay, well, let me add in Apex Legends, or let me add in Final Fantasy Last Soldier, or let me add in other battle royale games, because you start with one individual game and you build an audience around that. And then that genre, just expand in that genre. Now play multiple games within that genre. And then you build your audience even further in that. And then you can start stepping out and say, let's try a couple different genres that are close to that. That's really the best way to grow your audience. You don't want to like have these drastically changing types of games that you play, because people don't know what to expect out of your channel. Right. And so it's okay when you're starting in particular to be very focused, hyper focused on a particular title or type of game. I think it's actually probably the better way to start.
Now that made me think of another question. You've talked about community that you gain through your followers and your watching. If somebody had a following and they're playing one certain game, but they're still relatively early in being an influencer, do you think that it hurts you to constantly do what your community asks? So say you're still early in and they go, hey, I like this new game, why don't you do this? We were just talking about if you switch off or if you change it too much, it could hurt you. So where would you think the balance would be between listening to your community, growing it, and still being able to stick with like what people subscribe to you for?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm a worker by nature. Like, I think like you got to grind in order to be like really successful. And my thought on that, and I understand the conversation, you know, people don't want to placate to their audience. Then all of a sudden they're so niche that they can't break out of it. Right.
Right.
I think what you need to do in those circumstances is keep playing, play the titles that you're building the audience around, keep the stream of content the same. So let's say you're putting out like 2 videos a week for one particular title, and they want you to play a different map in that title, and you play, okay, I'm going to play this map. If you want to introduce a new title, you want to try something different, do it as a 3rd video or a 4th video, but continue playing your 2 or however you set up your channel. Be consistent with that. Don't change right off the bat unless you want to be a variety channel. Now, there are variety channels, and there's nothing wrong with being a variety channel. I think it's a little harder to build your audience because I think you're going to jump around too much and nobody gets to know what you're for. But my thought is just to your question, David, is like play the same amount, the same quantity of games, or do as many videos. And then if you want to switch it up, do it as a 3rd or an extra video. And then just be a worker about it. And then this way, everybody's getting their regular stream of content, and then there's the additive content that you can put on the channel.
That sounds perfect.
What right now, what games, I mean, I know you said some of them are in specific genres and stuff, but are there any particular games right now that, or what are the particular games right now that the biggest influencers are playing?
The biggest influencers, from what I see, are usually the biggest because they aren't contained by one game. But it takes a lot to get there. It takes a lot to be able to become the biggest. But you know, just to answer the question, you know, still to this day, I think you see, you know, a lot of Fortnite. Ninja still plays a lot of Fortnite. I mean, Ninja, his viewership has come down a little bit, but from a general gaming, you know, viewership, he's a great name. He plays a lot of Fortnite still. Fortnite is still a huge game.
Yes, it is.
People are playing. Apex is a huge game. People are playing right now.
Obviously, he got in a movie, so you know, Ninja is definitely becoming popular.
It's when you cross over, right? It's like you cross over and you become mainstream, and then all of a sudden that starts happening. But yeah, I think he just became just so synonymous with gaming, and then everybody else just sort of has kind of you know, just viewed him and what he does is like kind of like he's kind of like the climax, the epicenter of like what to do in gaming. You know, there's a huge phenomenon right now in the way people are playing games. About a 1/3 of our roster plays a little game called Roblox.
Roblox, I remember that. Yeah,
yeah, it's a huge game, and it's interesting because it's not like a traditional game. You know, it's this sandbox game where people come and they like actually, you can play a shooter, you can play, you know, an actual FPS style game, but you can also go down and play, you know, you can actually build an overall environment that you can have your friends enjoy. You know, you can have a bunch of mini games. You can go and you can actually interact with a bunch of different people inside the worlds of Roblox. And like, that's right now, I think the thing that I'm most interested in at the moment is like the way gaming is changing and the audiences are changing. And you have like this whole new set of rules for like what an actual video game is, and community and bringing people together in this sort of Web3, multiverse style game that's out.
Now that brings up my next question. How do you think that the metaverse will affect influencing?
I think it'll just make influencers even more relevant into the digital space. I think there's just always been popular people. The medium is now digital, right? And I think the metaverse is like one step deeper into these virtual digital worlds. Like I was saying, 1/3. So if you think like 1/3 of our roster plays Roblox and Minecraft, which are literally the biggest companies for advancement of the metaverse. People think it's Meta, it's Zuckerberg and them. And I'm a Zuckerberg fan. I know that's sometimes unpopular to say. I think they're doing a lot of great things for the metaverse.
They are. I agree.
I think it's incredible. But right now, as of today, you go Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, Epic Games. They're really the proponents of the metaverse because their worlds are already built.
Right.
And so we're doing programs right now where our influencers are actually going in to built worlds. I'll give you a good one. Chipotle. We built an actual store and released a brand new burrito called the Burrito. That was in October, where they actually come in and learn about the Halloween burrito that they had all through the game within the world. And you could play in a maze, a countdown. It had a countdown timer, and you played within the metaverse. And it's like, I think you're just going to have big personalities that participate in the metaverse, and you can find them and watch them and how they interact with it. I think it'll just continue the way it's been going.
Well,
I definitely agree.
And what's sad is this is why I don't have a job in forecasting what's going to be popular or not. I worked for Xbox back in the day, right before they bought Minecraft. And I was like, this game will never be popular. It's 8-bit. It's flashback. Nobody's going to like this. And then, of course, it takes off. And then I get it, fall in love with it. I'm building my own damn places and stuff. I still have it. It's really, it can be out of left field, surprising what does take off. I unfortunately cannot enjoy the metaverse or VR for the same reason I can't enjoy the first person shooters. I get the motion sickness. I tried it out here a while back because I wasn't going to buy a system until I knew if I could handle it. Went to my local movie theater. They had a VR system, and sure enough, I almost upchucked. But David, we're coming up on we're at the top of the hour. So I want to wrap this up. I have one question as far as the gaming stuff goes, and then our last question that we ask. So I want to pass it off to you. Do you have anything last here at the end that you want to ask Jordan?
I do. Is there any projections that you can share with us for MoreYellow as a company for the upcoming year?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to continue to keep building our roster. We're focused a lot in the metaverse right now. I think it's really important. But we have a large roster of talent now. Almost 300. We'll be at 300 before the end of the year. Amazing creators, and so we're working on a program that allows the talent to go further in depth on the different sponsorships that they work on. So a lot of times when we do a sponsorship, it's a 30 to 60 second video that goes onto the actual influencer's channel. That's about it. And a lot of brands, they would love a much deeper dive into that particular content. But, influencers don't want to do it because it kind of feels like, you don't want to just make your channel about just advertorial content. And everybody's kind of had that issue for a long time. It's like, you just don't want to sell out your channel for sponsorships. And so what we're building is a side channel for all of our influencers to go in and do deeper dives, really deep dives, where they break down in videos and specs and give overall reviews of a product in full detail. And our whole roster of almost 300 talent will have access to create very in-depth video content and give a full breakdown on individual products. And so any brands listening, any brands that would be interested in learning more about this particular platform, we'd love to tell you about it. It's definitely in its sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you. I was just saying that's great because go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's in its beta and we're launching it here in Q4. But Q1, will be a really big time for us as we move into the summer next year. But how do you get very in-depth reviews on content and their community to review the content as it comes out? That's something that we can help on.
Man, that's nice because David knows I get deliveries almost every single day at my doorstep of products that people want me to check out and review. I spent yesterday and today writing up a couple of reviews, but I can only go so far as where my reach goes. I can do a video on YouTube, which I'm really bad about because I just got a green screen. I got the stuff set up where I can, do a good unboxing. And then I'll do a write-up review, but that doesn't let me really go in depth. I'm not showing videos on every aspect of how it works or every aspect of it. And that's a really great idea that you guys got there. I'm looking forward to seeing how that evolves here in Q4. Jordan, we're a little past the top of the hour, but I got two questions for you. And the first one kind of leads into the second one. To wrap it up, it kind of goes with everything we've talked about tonight. What is your best advice for gamers that are wanting to become influencers right now? Somebody just starting out.
Get started. Be on every platform. Find out which platform works best for you. At the very beginning, when you don't have your audience developed, try it all. Try a bunch of different things. Try the types of content that you are interested in. Look around, see what's popular. Play what's coming out. The algorithms will pick you up. Be consistent. And then, test for the first 3 to 6 months and then really double down on what's been working for you.
So there you go, folks. Those of you that are out there that love gaming, have wanted to know how you can make some extra money influencing, there it is from the quote unquote horse's mouth. But Jordan, before I do ask the next question, the last question of the night, something that, as I said, in Geek Speak, we ask every single interview, and we're going to continue that tradition here on Into the Geekverse. But David, before I wrap it up and we close it all out, is there anything else that you've got for Jordan?
Not specifically, but, wrapping it up as well with the question that we always ask, I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you'd like to plug that's upcoming or any questions that you have for us?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say was the artists, the brothers that worked on the painting behind me. It's Francis and Lawrence Minoza.
Okay.
Yeah, they're known as Nice Bleed is the name of the group, but they're Francis and Lawrence Minoza. I was looking it up while we were talking, guys.
Well, thank you for that. One of our people were asking about that.
Yeah, no, we're just doing a lot of really custom programs with our influencers. We have, a roster of 280 influencers. We activate quickly because they are on roster. We have all of our talents, negotiated rates. We work with them. We manage them exclusively. So we have, regular conversations with them every week. So if you need us to activate quickly and you need a group of talent that really focuses on the gaming audience, think of MoreYellow. Come to us. We're happy to help. We got great talent managers, great account managers looking to help you. We're a good, friendly group, and always look to try and please.
Fantastic. Now, the last question that we have it does kind of, to go back to that last question, we gave some advice to wannabe influencers and people gaming. But Jordan, if all of a sudden there was a time machine and you could go back in time and give young Jordan one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would definitely say, buy Google, buy Apple. No question. Buy Google, buy Apple, invest heavily in Tesla. No, I think if I were to go back, I would just say, your network is your most important entity in business, whether you're working for someone or whether you're an entrepreneur on your own. Meet as many people as you can early. Take care of the people that take care of you. Your network is so important to building clientele, and really, you don't try and help people. People they are only interested in what you can help them with. And so build your network, make a lot of friends in whatever industry you go into, meet a lot of people, be active in your industry, and take care of your network. That's really what that's going to take you as far as you can go. More so than skill set and all the other things. Just take care of people and your network in particular.
Man,
Awesome.
I have done that question over 40 times, and that is a unique answer. I loved it. That one is taking care of your network. That is great advice. Jordan, we really appreciate your time tonight. We could probably go another hour discussing this stuff. I definitely want to discuss some more of helping promote or tying in together MoreYellow and Geek Insider, because we do have a lot of gamers out there that, whether they're influencers or not, they like this kind of information. They like learning this stuff. And that's what Into the Geekverse is all about. Whether we're talking pop culture or gaming, we want to get that inside look of what Geek Insider is all about. Jordan, don't go anywhere, but before we wrap this up and I do all that closing mumbo jumbo, where can folks, we know MoreYellow.com, but is there anywhere that people can follow the web or follow the company, follow you? Where can people find you and find out more?
Yeah, at MoreYellow on Twitter. That's MORE and the color yellow, at MoreYellow. LinkedIn, we post a lot on LinkedIn as well under the company name MoreYellow. And then I myself on Twitter at Jordan Mauriello, but the two L's are ones. That's for me myself. But at MoreYellow, we post a lot. We're pretty regular. We call out a bunch of our talent too, so you get an idea as to kind of who we're managing, who we're working with, and all upcoming stuff that we're working on as well.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Jordan, don't go anywhere. We'll do the wrap up here real quick. We want to talk to you off air just before we say goodnight. But folks, make sure you tune in next week. We will have graphic novelist Roy Okupe. He's the author of several interconnected projects set in his Afrocentric unique universe, and that's YOU on both of those, including Iano's Child of Wonder, now being adapted as a series for HBO Max and Cartoon Network, with Lion Forge Animation producing and Roy serving as executive producer, director, and co-creator. We're going to sit down with him and discuss the depths of accomplishing and sustaining an Afro-futuristic universe that not only exists, but thrives on spectators' exploration of a culture unknown to them. And then he's got a new 10-book series, guys, that is coming from Dark Horse Comics, one of my favorite comic book publishers, and we're going to talk about why he decided to trust this publisher over everyone else, and why he thought that they took his materials seriously over a lot of the others. And everyone, again, thanks so much to Jordan Mauriello for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Into the Geekverse, a Geek Insider production. Subscribe to the Geek Insider podcast on your favorite listening app, or join us live on YouTube and Facebook every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. Visit geekinsider.com for tons of great geek content, and be sure to sign up for the newsletter. We also have advertising opportunities for the website, newsletter, and podcast And for more information, contact advertising@geekinsider.com. As always, this part always gives me the chills, David. This show is dedicated to our cohort and friend, Meredith Loughran. Rest in peace, Meredith. We'll see you next week, folks, and you better be there or we might just have to revoke your geek card. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday.